All right, ready to dive into some seriously creepy stuff.
Always.
Today, it's the lyeh text.
Ooh, that's a good one.
It claims to be a secret sequel to the infamous Necronomicon.
Right.
And whether it's, real or not, it's packed with all that good stuff.
Ancient beings.
Bizarre rituals.
The cosmic horror vibes.
The whole shebang.
Definitely a classic.
What do you think? Is this thing the real deal?
A genuine grimoire.
An elaborate hoax?
Or just a really good scary story.
Well, the way it's written, it's like, a first-person account.
Yeah.
It feels like more personal.
More immediate.
Yeah, than just a list of spells and monsters.
You're right there with the narrator.
As they're uncovering this, forbidden knowledge.
And you start to question their sanity right alongside them.
Exactly.
That narrative element really adds to the intrigue.
It really does.
For sure.
It makes you wonder, is the narrator, losing their mind?
Or are they actually seeing these things?
Exactly. And the text starts with them exploring some hidden city.
Buried beneath Irem.
Yeah. Sounds adventurous, right?
Yeah.
But instead of treasure, they find, oppressive silence.
This overwhelming dread.
An architecture that just screams ancient and inhuman.
Oh, yeah. That unsettling atmosphere is key to cosmic horror,
Total.
It's not just, jump scares.
Right.
It's the creeping realization that something vast
and oval
is lurking just beyond our perception.
Right.
The text describes the architecture as cyclopean.
I love that word.
It really drives home the idea that we're dealing with forces beyond human comprehension.
Totally beyond.
For sure.
Okay, so picture this. You're in this, silent, terrifying corridor.
Uh-huh.
And you stumble upon a sealed door.
Covered in unsettling symbols.
What do you do?
Knowing what we know about cursed artifacts.
And forbidden knowledge.
You'd think our narrator would turn tail and run.
I would.
But nope, they open it.
Oh, man.
They just can't resist.
I can't say I blame them. Curiosity can be a powerful motivator.
It really can.
But what they experience when that door opens, wow.
The text talks about cosmic visions.
Whispers of forbidden names.
A glimpse into the realm of Azathoth.
The blind, idiot god at the center of it all.
That sounds more like a nightmare than a discovery.
Right?
Yeah. And this encounter really sets the stage for the text's exploration of cosmic horror.
Definitely.
Lovecraft was a master at creating this sense of otherness.
Totally.
These entities so alien and vast that our minds can barely grasp them.
It's true.
And the text dives right into that.
Naming these entities.
Cthulhu.
Yog-Sothoth.
Nyarlathotep.
Just reading those names sends shivers down your spine.
They really do.
They have a certain weight to them.
Uh-huh.
And the lyeh text doesn't just name drop these cosmic entities.
It expands on their lore.
Exactly.
For example, it specifically mentions Cthulhu.
Slumbering in lyeh.
Right. And hints at a prophecy of his eventual awakening.
Ooh, spooky.
This isn't just about humanity's insignificance in the face of the cosmos.
It suggests we might actually play a role in these terrifying events.
Exactly.
The text gets pretty cryptic about how we fit into all of this.
But it mentions something about mankind shattering a seal.
And ushering in an age of darkness.
Do you think that seal is meant to be taken literally?
Or is it a metaphor for something else?
It could be both.
Interesting.
Think about the symbols and rituals often associated with seals.
Okay, yeah.
They often represent a barrier between worlds, a way of containing something powerful and dangerous.
Right.
Maybe the text is suggesting that humanity's actions,
our pursuit of knowledge,
or power,
might inadvertently break down those barriers.
And unleash forces we can't control.
Oh, no.
It's a scary thought.
Okay, so we've got ancient beings, unsettling prophecies, and a suggestion that we're not just ants in the face of the cosmos.
But potential agents of chaos.
Right. And then just when you think it can't get any weirder, the text takes a hard turn into instructions for rituals.
Oh, yeah. The how-to guide for contacting these beings.
And harnessing their power.
It's almost like a dark grimoire.
It really is.
This is where the lyeh text moves from cosmic horror into the realm of the occult.
Okay.
It's not just about fearing the unknown,
but potentially interacting with it.
Manipulating these forces, and the text is very specific about the consequences of that interaction. It doesn't shy away from the price one might pay for dabbling in this kind of power.
And some of these rituals are pretty disturbing.
Oh, yeah.
Take nurturing the cadaver, for example.
That one's a classic.
This one involves using a specific kind of fly.
To extract essence from a corpse.
For offerings to the old ones. It even mentions specific incantations.
And warnings about creatures called nahags.
What do you think the symbolism behind a ritual like this might be?
I think it highlights the transactional nature of this kind of magic and the potential for corruption.
Right.
It suggests that appealing to these cosmic entities requires a sacrifice, a willingness to transgress boundaries.
Both physical and ethical.
Exactly. The mention of nahags, these creatures associated with decay and death, reinforces that sense of a descent into darkness.
Yeah. And then there's the Vessel of Balan, a ritual focused on creating a brazen head to contain spirits.
Right, right. The text goes into detail about specific sigils.
Offerings.
And the whole purpose is to bind these spirits to the user's will.
It really does seem like playing with fire.
It does. What's interesting here is the idea of control.
Okay.
It suggests that while these cosmic entities are vast and unknowable,
There might be ways to manipulate them.
to bend their power to our will.
But the question is, at what cost?
Exactly. The text seems to imply that this kind of control comes at a terrible price,
Another ritual that caught my eye was the Ring of Hypnos.
which supposedly allows the wearer to enter the dreams of others.
It makes you wonder what would motivate someone to undertake such a risky endeavor.
Dreams have always held a fascination for humanity.
Definitely.
They're seen as windows into the subconscious, a realm of hidden truths and desires.
Right.
The Ring of Hypnos taps into that fascination.
But it also hints at the potential for violation.
The ability to intrude on the most private spaces of another person's mind.
It's a power with terrifying implications.
For sure.
But if you're looking for some protection against all these malevolent entities,
Our lyeh text offers the Amulet of Nodens,
you need a silver plate, a serpent bat image, and an invocation of Nodens.
who seems to be a somewhat benevolent entity in this cosmic mess.
Does the inclusion of a protective amulet suggest a balance of power within this universe?
It's possible.
Okay.
The Amulet of Nodens might represent a counterforce to the cosmic horror,
Uh-huh.
a glimmer of hope in a very dark and unsettling world.
Right.
It suggests that even in the face of these overwhelming entities,
There might be ways to resist their influence.
to protect oneself from their power.
So we've got a text filled with prophecies
Unsettling rituals.
and a glimpse into a universe where humanity is caught between unimaginable power and cosmic indifference.
But the lyeh text doesn't stop there.
It also delves into descriptions of creatures straight out of your worst nightmares.
This is where the text really leans into classic horror elements.
It introduces a bestiary of nightmarish beings. Ghouls, vampires, lyeh, harpies, creatures that lurk in the shadows.
Blurring the lines between reality and nightmare.
And it hints at the possibility of binding these creatures to the will of a sorcerer.
Making them tools for those who dare to wield such power.
The text briefly mentions ghouls, vampires, lyeh, harpies, and even more.
It paints a picture of a world where those things that go bump in the night are very real.
And potentially very dangerous.
What stood out to you about the text's descriptions of these creatures?
What's interesting is that the text doesn't just describe these creatures.
It hints at their origins and purpose.
Right.
It suggests they're not just random monsters,
Uh-huh.
but part of a larger cosmic ecosystem,
Okay.
often serving the will of the old ones.
Or arising as a consequence of their influence on the world,
It adds a layer of depth to the horror,
making it feel more systemic.
more inescapable.
It's like this hidden world is teeming with creatures and forces we can barely comprehend.
And they're all connected to this ancient cosmic power.
And then, to make things even more unsettling,
The lyeh text introduces a magical mirror.
called the Speculum of Apparitions,
You can use it to see spirits.
and commune with the dead.
But, as with everything else in this text,
It involves specific ingredients, alchemical processes, and incantations.
the speculum of apparitions fits into that classic motif of mirrors as portals.
Windows into other realms,
But what's particularly interesting here is that it's presented as a tool for communication.
not just observation.
It suggests that the veil between the worlds can be pierced.
That contact with the dead, with spirits, is
Look,
possible.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got a text filled with ancient beings, unsettling prophecies, rituals that sound like something out of a horror movie, and creatures that would make anyone sleep with the lights on.
But the lyeh text saves the best, or perhaps the worst, for last.
The grand finale.
The Transfiguration ritual.
This one is a doozy.
It supposedly allows you to take the form of the Old Ones themselves.
Specific cosmic alignments, chilling invocations of Azathoth and Yog-Sothoth, the whole shebang.
This is where the text goes from potentially dangerous to definitely a bad idea.
The Transfiguration ritual represents the ultimate goal of the text.
A complete merging with the cosmic horror that it describes.
It's not just about summoning or controlling these entities,
but becoming one with them.
transcending humanity.
Embracing the alien and the unknown.
It's a terrifying and fascinating concept.
And it speaks to the underlying fascination with cosmic horror.
Why are we so drawn to the things that frighten us?
To the idea of forces beyond our control.
Maybe it's because it forces us to confront our own insignificance.
To question our place in the vastness of the universe.
Or perhaps it's a way of exploring the boundaries of our own humanity.
Of pushing against the limits of what we can know and comprehend.
Whatever the reason, the Transfiguration ritual pushes that exploration to its extreme.
Suggesting that true understanding of these cosmic forces might require a complete surrender of our own identity.
Which brings us to the narrator, Alhazred.
After all this.
He tells us he's doomed.
Cryptic prophecies, imminent destruction, the oracle of Yebsu predicting his downfall. It seems all this forbidden knowledge came with a pretty hefty price tag.
The narrator's fate adds a tragic dimension to the lyeh text.
It suggests that even those who seek this forbidden knowledge,
To delve into the mysteries of the cosmos.
are ultimately consumed by the forces they unleash.
It's a cautionary tale about the dangers of seeking power beyond human comprehension.
And a reminder that some secrets are best left buried.
But here's the twist.
Even though he knows he's doomed.
Alhazred believes his writings will endure.
He calls the lyeh text a key to salvation for the wise.
And a path to damnation for fools.
That ending leaves us with a sense of ambiguity.
And a lingering question. What is the true nature of this knowledge?
Is it a path to enlightenment or destruction?
Exactly. Is the lyeh text a warning to stay away from forbidden knowledge? A guide for those who dare to seek it? Or something else entirely? We'll delve deeper into that question when we continue our deep dive into the lyeh text.
Here we are again in the dark side of the Necronomicon. As I said before, it's not obligatory for every Chaos Magic practitioner, but for those who use Necronomicon, it's very important. Not because it's good or not because it's bad, but because it's both of them. The duality have a little space right here. So when you deal with Chaos Magic, it's very important you know about Necronomicon. So for those who follow Necronomicon, it's important to know the history around this book. This book may be a fiction. This book may be true. Maybe John Dee made this book long before H.P. Lovecraft, but it's not important as what you will reach with that content. So we follow this path. Here in
Chaos Magic Time.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the lyeh text.
Glad to be back.
Before we, get back to those creatures and rituals,
Yeah.
it's worth focusing on those prophecies woven throughout the narrative.
Okay.
These aren't just vague pronouncements of doom,
Right.
but specific events
And consequences.
tied to humanity's actions.
And the awakening of these ancient beings.
That's a great point. The text goes beyond typical Lovecraftian horror.
Where humanity is just insignificant.
In the face of cosmic indifference.
It suggests we might actually have a role in shaping a terrifying future. We talked about mankind shattering a seal, but there are other references too.
To opening gates.
And meddling with forces we don't understand.
It's like we're poking a sleeping giant.
And that giant is about to wake up very, very angry.
Right. And one of the most chilling prophecies is the return of the Old Ones. The text describes their coming as an apocalyptic event.
That will reshape reality as we know it. This is where the text gets really unsettling. It's not just about our fear of the unknown.
It's about the possibility that we might be the ones who unleash it.
Exactly.
And it plays on those anxieties we have about the future.
Those big complex issues we're facing.
Climate change,
Technological disruption.
political instability,
The lyeh text taps into that fear that our own actions might be leading us towards a catastrophe,
that we can't control.
or even fully comprehend. The text describes the old ones as these ancient, powerful beings,
Who once ruled the earth?
and are now waiting to reclaim their dominion. What struck me was that they're not just mindless destroyers.
But beings with their own agendas.
Motivations.
Even a strange kind of alien logic. That's what makes them so terrifying. They represent a force of nature
A cosmic order.
that's utterly indifferent to human values.
And aspirations. You can't reason with
And
them.
you can't bargain with them.
We can't even fully understand them. So we've got these incredibly powerful beings, prophecies of their return, and the suggestion that we might be the ones who bring about this cosmic apocalypse.
What does it all mean?
What's the message?
Yeah.
The purpose behind the lyeh text?
That's the big question, isn't it? Is it a warning?
A prophecy?
A guide?
Or something else entirely?
I think it's open to interpretation,
Okay.
and that's part of its power.
Interesting.
It forces us to confront the unknown.
To grapple with the limits of our understanding.
When to consider the possibility that there are forces at work in the universe that are beyond our control. One interpretation is that it's a cautionary tale.
About the dangers of forbidden knowledge.
Alahazred, the narrator, clearly pays a heavy price for seeking and documenting these secrets. It's like a cosmic version of the Faust legend.
A reminder that some knowledge is too dangerous to possess. That's definitely a valid reading.
And it aligns with Lovecraft's core themes, the fragility of the human mind and the vastness of the cosmos.
But I also think there's more to it than that.
The lyeh text suggests that while dangerous, this knowledge might hold a key to understanding our place in the universe.
And the forces that shape our reality.
Right.
It's not just about horror and dread,
It's about exploring the boundaries of human perception.
and what we can truly know and understand.
It's like a twisted philosophical treatise hidden within a horror story.
Exactly. And I think that's why the lyeh text continues to resonate with people.
It challenges us to think beyond our comfortable assumptions about the world.
And to consider the possibility that there are things out there we can't explain
Control.
or even fully comprehend. It's also worth noting that the text doesn't offer any easy answers or solutions. It doesn't tell us how to avoid this coming apocalypse.
Or how to appease these ancient beings. It's a very nihilistic work.
Suggesting that our fate is ultimately out of our hands.
Yeah.
That's true. And it's part of what makes it so unsettling. There's no false hope.
No easy solutions. It forces us to confront the possibility that we are not the masters of our own destiny,
That there are forces at work in the universe that are beyond our control.
beyond our comprehension. Which brings us back to the question, what's the purpose of the lyeh text?
Is it simply a record of forbidden knowledge?
A warning to future generations.
Or something more? We've talked about the rituals and the prophecies.
But there's another aspect of the text that we haven't explored yet.
The creatures.
Yes, those terrifying beings that populate this world of cosmic horror. The lyeh text goes beyond just cataloging them.
It gives us glimpses into their nature,
Their origins.
their role in this grand cosmic scheme.
We are and live here to enjoy life. Avoiding this means avoiding being ourselves. One of the ways people like to live is by learning more, and that's why I make these podcasts about books and about chaos magic. Here in Brazil, we are all educated to be cheap. That hurt education to be socially accepted, so I thought that the popular objection to chaos magic would be very intense. I was wrong. Here, people are eager to learn and practice things that work for us Brazilians. It's not different outside of Brazil, but since English is not our native language, communication is a bit rigid. Anyway, I now make podcasts in English because just as many other people also liked them. I believe it is important to use these podcasts as a basis for at least Chaos Magic group to start discussions about them. However, I must point out that groups that are not practitioners of Chaos Magic will be very surprised when they practice these works that I recommended. And also I will recommend. let's keep our hunger for learning strong here in Brazil or anywhere on the world. Hugs.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the lyeh text.
Glad to be back.
We've covered prophecies, rituals, even touched on some of those terrifying creatures.
Lurking in this cosmic horror universe.
But what I find fascinating are the smaller details.
Like what?
Those little glimpses into a hidden world.
That the text reveals almost accidentally.
Exactly. For example, the text mentions something called the Powder of Ibn Ghazi.
Yeah.
It pops up in a few rituals.
And it seems to have something to do with opening gates.
Or contacting those ancient beings.
What do you make of this mysterious powder?
It's one of those tantalizing details that the lyeh text doesn't fully explain.
We know it's a substance of great power.
Possibly connected to some ancient alchemy.
Or sorcery.
And the fact that it's used in rituals to contact the old ones.
Suggests it might have something to do with manipulating the fabric of reality itself.
Or perhaps the barriers between our world and theirs.
It's a fascinating concept.
So they've got this mysterious powder, strange rituals, prophecies of cosmic doom. But what about the actual locations mentioned in the text? The narrator talks about Arli,
Where Cthulhu slumbers.
but also places like the Vaults of Zin.
And the Vale of Xernos.
Are these real places?
Or are they just figments of the narrator's imagination?
That's one of the things that makes the lyeh text so intriguing.
It blurs the lines between reality and fiction.
History and mythology.
Some locations, like Arli, are clearly fictional creations.
Right.
But others seem to echo real-world mythology and folklore. The Vaults of Zin, for example, might be a reference to the ancient Sumerian underworld.
A realm of darkness and death.
And the Vale of Xernos sounds like it could be a distorted version of a real valley.
In the Middle East.
Perhaps one shrouded in local legends and superstitions.
It makes you wonder if the author was intentionally drawing on these real-world beliefs and locations.
To add a layer of authenticity to the text.
Or if it was a way of hinting at a deeper, hidden connection between our world.
And the realm of the old ones.
Right. It makes you question what the author intended to convey.
Was it a warning about meddling with forces beyond our understanding?
Disguised as a fictional narrative.
Or was it a genuine attempt to document a hidden, dangerous reality?
One thing that really stood out to me was the narrator's sense of impending doom. He knows he's messed up, gone too far in his pursuit of knowledge.
But he also seems to believe his writings might serve as a warning to others.
Or maybe even a guide for those brave enough to follow in his footsteps.
Alhazred's fate is a crucial part of the lyeh text.
It's not just a story about cosmic horror.
It's a cautionary tale. It reminds us that seeking forbidden knowledge can come at a terrible price. That transgressing the boundaries of human understanding can have devastating consequences.
And his final words.
That his writings might offer salvation or damnation depending on the reader.
Add another layer to the text.
It's like he's leaving it up to us to decide how we interpret this knowledge.
How we use it.
And ultimately, what consequences we face as a result.
It forces us to consider our own motivations.
Are we seeking this knowledge for the sake of understanding?
Or for the power it might grant us.
And are we prepared to accept the consequences of that pursuit?
So after all this exploration of the lyeh text, what are we left with?
Is it a warning?
A prophecy.
A guide?
A work of fiction.
Or something else entirely?
I believe it's all of those things and more. It's a work that challenges our understanding of the world.
And our place in it. It forces us to confront the unknown.
The unknowable.
And the possibility that there are forces at work in the universe beyond our control.
Or comprehension. The lyeh text is a reminder that the pursuit of knowledge can be a double-edged sword.
Leading to both enlightenment and destruction.
It leaves us with more questions than answers.
But perhaps that's the point.
Perhaps it's a call to examine our own assumptions.
To question the nature of reality itself.
And to consider the possibility that there are things out there that we can't explain.
Control.
Or even fully comprehend.
Well said. That wraps up our deep dive into the lyeh text.
We've journeyed into a world of cosmic horror, forbidden knowledge, and terrifying prophecies. But the true mystery, the true power of this text, lies in its ambiguity.
In its ability to make us think.
Challenge our perceptions.
And leave us with more questions than answers.
It's a text that will stay with you long after you've finished reading it.
Prompting you to look at the world with a sense of wonder.
And a healthy dose of fear.
Thanks for joining us on this unsettling adventure.
Until next time, keep looking up at the stars.
But be careful what you wish for.
You might just get it.
Whispers call From the depths of our lyeh, where shadows fall, the ink is black, the words are cursed. A secret power, a spell rehearsed. Dreams, step inside, where Yog-Sothoth waits, the worlds collide, a jaw to